Vomiting Rainbows, episode 15. Woo! This is an exciting one. It's a Thanksgiving special, so we talk about children.
Mm-hmm.
And not in a positive way, unfortunately. Maybe you had a rough Thanksgiving. You might understand what some of these people went through, but talk about daycares and how not to treat children. We talk about where not to get children.
And why it's important to see the person you're dating naked as much as possible.
Exactly. Right? Especially during pregnancy. and why we think Justin Bieber was right in one circumstance.
Justin Bieber was justified.
Vomiting Rainbows. This is episode 15.
That's strong. 15 is strong.
Well, it has to be strong because last week you took the unexpected holiday that you didn't tell me about, and then you just bolted. I know. And I'm all ready for tonight.
You texted me on Tuesday, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to tell Doug I'm not going to be there. Thanksgiving.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Just assume that if it's a holiday, I'm not around.
So this whole premise of this podcast is that I read a bunch of stories that Mike knows nothing about, and get his feedback on it, and he spits back rainbows right at me. And
these aren't just your average story. These are stories that pretty much mainstream media is not covering. That you have to kind of dig deep. They're I would say there's a disturbing slant to them. I don't know what that says about Doug.
Yeah, I tend to pick things that will kind of make Mike's jaw drop a little bit because I feel like that's the key to this. Well, is if it were like, hey, did you hear a bunch of kids got a new playground? You'd be like, what?
No, not necessarily. I spent a lot of time on playgrounds as a kid. But my point is that some of the stuff is pretty dark. And
it's a little dark.
The benefit of listening to this podcast is you'll hear all these super dark, horrific stories. And then you kind of sit there and go, man, my life is pretty good. Like the world might be a worse place than I thought it was. But overall, my life is is pretty decent. I'm doing pretty good.
And then you get important little tidbits that we come up with of how to not let these things happen to you.
Exactly. It's really a learning podcast.
It's a learning experience.
Yes.
And so I think the most important thing that we have to talk about is, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good.
It was good.
Yeah, I went to I took my family to the Grand Canyon, which I'd never been to. And it was awesome, man. It is great, too, because I realized I'm so used to everything in San Francisco and the Bay Area being so crowded and traffic and just everything crazy.
Right.
And it's weird, when you use your phone to map, it's going to take 2 hours to get there. It takes 2 hours to get there. No problems parking. It wasn't crowded. And the Grand Canyon is awesome, totally amazing. It's kind of you see pictures of it, and you're like, okay, I know what it's going to be like. And when you get there, you're like, yeah, this is what it's gonna, that's what it is. But you just can't stop looking at it.
Yeah.
I took more pictures of the Grand Canyon probably than I took of my kids being born.
Wow.
Because every site, every kind of where you turn, it's amazing. And then you'll drive maybe 30 miles to this lookout tower, and you get a whole different perspective of the canyon. And it's something to see, man. And it's a really good thing to kind of to right size you. If you start kind of feeling like, I don't know, the world's too crazy to comprehend or whatever it is, you kind of realize,
right.
Those rocks are billions of years old, and
there was an ocean there once.
What's that?
There was a river flow.
Yeah, and it was covered by ocean. Yeah,
right.
No, so I'm a fan of long-term thinking, Doug. I don't know if you know that about me. I don't know if you know about the Clock of the Long Now and the Long Now Foundation, and it's kind of this whole philosophy of thinking, kind of using your mind and kind of thinking long term.
Right.
And the Grand Canyon is kind of just a natural reminder of that. But it was also cool. I got to take my kids to some Route 66 towns and explain what Route 66 is to them, and they were all stoked. I mean, they've seen cars and stuff, but it was cool, man. Great trip. Awesome. I recommend it to everybody. We cruised through Sedona and a little bit of Flagstaff. And I mean, Arizona's pretty, man. I've been to Phoenix a couple times. And Phoenix is kind of like Bakersfield, just on steroids.
Right.
And it's so hot and melting. And it's just, it's kind of wasn't really that impressed with Phoenix a couple times I've been there.
Right.
But northern Arizona, in that area, just a couple hours north, is dynamite.
And you didn't hang out with the gin blossoms?
I didn't, no.
Oh. I mean, I feel like that's the only reason to go to Arizona.
I think there was a couple other bands from Arizona.
It was only the gin blossoms.
Was there a band called the Funk Junkies from Arizona? Hold on, let me see.
Hold on. All right, you look that up.
You look that up. You start with the story.
All right, hold on. But before, I want to know if you did the walk on the glass thing over the Grand.
That's the North Rim.
That's what everyone says. It's the North Rim. Is it that far away that it's too hard to get to?
It would take some time.
You couldn't take like a donkey and go over to the far side?
Well, they do have a lot of helicopter rides and stuff. Funk Junkies are an American rap rock band from Phoenix, Arizona, formed in 1991. Thank you very much. They did a song called Me and Your Girl that I played on the radio 1,000 times.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's some band that, like, until I hear the song, I wouldn't know who the fuck they were.
Even if you hear the song, you might not. I mean, that's like hardcore kind of 90s alternative, like radio alternative.
Dude, I listen to WHFS. I'm 90s alternative.
Let's see, they did Me and Your Girl. They did a song called I Love It Loud. Let's not talk about the Funk Junkies. It's 2016.
It's too much.
They were like the precursor to Limp Bizkit.
Okay.
They were like 10 years ahead of Limp Bizkit.
Okay. That
says everything.
That really does quite say it all. So first of all, we'll do a spit update because we have to talk about our buddy Todd Kohlhepp. You remember him?
Yeah.
Girl in the container truck that was chained up. Get this. So there's more and more disturbing things coming out about this guy. I'm sure there's going to be a movie about him, at least a Lifetime movie. Mm-hmm. But he wrote reviews on Amazon of all the tools that he used to kill and lock people up.
So I remember you were saying that they were thinking that that's what he was doing. So they confirmed that.
They confirmed that. So one thing that he did is he wrote a review on padlocks in which he said, "These are solid locks. I have 5 on a shipping container. It won't stop them, but it surely will slow them down till they're too old to care." I mean,
yeah,
that's great stuff.
Yeah.
And then he got his knife. He said, "Haven't stabbed anyone yet, but I'm keeping the dream alive so that when I do, I was sure to use a quality tool like this."
You were saying this last time we talked about this.
Right.
And people thought he was just joking with these reviews, but it turns out that he used this stuff. Now, how do they have a body count now?
Yeah, they do.
So they're digging up this place and stuff?
Yeah, they are. I think he admitted to 7 people. But even more than that, they're sure that there have to be more just because of the time frame and how sadistic this guy was.
Yeah.
He admitted to, I don't know if you heard about the Superbike murders.
The Superbike?
Yeah. So there was Todd apparently went to a store to buy a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And when he went out, he asked them for a tutorial of how to ride this bike.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Well, you pull the accelerator and you go."
Yeah.
And they were kind of mocking him. And he took off out of the store and fell over. And then they just laughed at him.
Yeah.
And so he went home, got a gun, and came back and killed everyone in the store.
I think I heard about this. He got away with it. They didn't.
Yeah, 2003. They had no idea who did it. No idea.
I think I do remember that.
Yeah, it was.
So this was the guy.
This is the guy.
Oh my God.
And they didn't even know he did it. He just was like, "You've got me for all these other things, so I might as well just be."
I'm the Superbike guy.
Yeah, I might as well tell you I did kill all these guys.
You know what's interesting about this is when you think about him saying like, "Hey, dude, I committed all these crimes and stuff." You hear about people disappearing. You hear about all these murders and all this horrific things. And in my mind, I always think like, one stabbing in a house of a whole family is like one crazy dude.
Right.
But what if it's really just like 1,000 people in the country committing 90% of the crime?
Right.
Like, what if it's really that black and white?
Right.
That'd be nuts.
It's crazy. They finally got a hold of his mom, and his mom discussed this with the reporter, and she said, he just had a really, really knee-jerk response, and it was always angry.
Yeah,
and
a little overreacting.
Yeah, she made it seem like he's just.
Well, isn't this the guy that had his when he was 9, like his parents took him to like a psychologist or something,
yes,
and they were like, he has no redeeming qualities. He's like a sociopath. Like he'll be nothing but trouble for the rest of his life. And the parents were just like, "Oh, okay, we'll just put that away."
Yeah, but the other thing is they said, well, these guys were really like making fun of him at this motorcycle store. And so he took it the wrong way, went back to the store and killed them. And then she basically said, that's why you shouldn't bully kids.
Yeah.
And no, this guy was beyond that.
Yeah, that's a little extreme. I mean, we both ride motorcycles, Doug. I mean, and it is kind of weird that a dude that doesn't know how to ride a motorcycle would buy a motorcycle, or someone would sell him one.
Right.
Usually it's like, dude, go take some lessons, have a buddy teach you how to ride, and then come back and buy a motorcycle.
Like step one, almost every motorcycycle store in California will say, have you taken CC Rider yet?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something like that. Do
you have a helmet?
Do you have a helmet? Do you know what you're doing? Do you know what a clutch is?
Yeah.
Small things like that. But yeah, they tried to get him to go out in this field, and he went into the field, and they were like, it's better in the field because if you fall down, you just topple into the grass.
Yeah.
And he went in the field and toppled into the grass, and they were just
Yeah.
I
don't know, man. That's it might be messed up, might be bad salesman, might be a bad way to operate a dirt bike shop, but doesn't mean that you should come back and kill everyone in it.
No, not at all. But so the other thing is, so remember the girl that he had chained up in the cargo container?
Yeah.
They asked his mom, why? First of all, why would he kill the boyfriend?
Yeah.
And she said, oh, as he told it to me, that guy, Charlie, who was the guy who was killed, had a really smart mouth, and he didn't like it.
Wait a second. So the mom knew that her son was killing all these people?
That's the thing that they're investigating now. So they think the mom may have been somehow complicit or at least covering up for the crimes.
I mean, is that one of those situations where, like, the mom's so scared that if she does anything, like, he'll kill her? Or is she just a wacko, too? I mean, a little bit of both, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, obviously, if you saw his history, like we read the psychiatrist's report on him.
Yeah.
And it was so aggressive. She was probably like, I just don't want to.
I know.
And he was convicted, went to jail for 14 years or so ever, and got out. So she is probably like, well, if he gets convicted of these crimes, he might come out as well. And then if I'm saying bad things about him,
come get me.
He might come get me.
Yeah. I mean, I know that, being a parent, you love your kids no matter what they do. You know what I mean? No matter, where life takes them.
Right.
I've known when I was growing up, I knew some really, really super violent dudes. I mean, like violent people. And their parents were kind of.
Are we talking about your brother?
No, exactly. But their parents were, I don't know if they'd look the other way, but it was just kind of like, it would kind of just be like, yeah, that's kind of the way he is, like you accept your kids for what they become. But I think when they start like killing people and putting them in storage containers, you kind of go like, son, you've crossed the line. Like,
right.
this isn't good. I mean, or if you have a son like that, maybe do like the Dexter thing. Like, why not? Like, instead of going after innocent people, why don't you like find some real scumbags to rid from the earth? You know what I mean? Like, instead of wrecking these innocent lives, like.
Exactly. But exactly. Like now we're advocating that.
Yeah,
no. I think we're going a wrong direction on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand where you're going, but it's just it's got to be so hard because you see, like, I've watched Intervention. I don't know if you've watched Intervention.
I've seen it.
Yeah, but you watch and they're like all the family members have cut someone out.
Yeah.
And there's always that one family member that's like, I can help them.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're the ones that's like giving them money, letting them stay.
Yeah.
They're just enabling in some way or shape or form. And you're just like, God, that person.
I mean, that's a pretty, that enabling behavior. I mean, that's when you're enabling your kid to murder people, that's like, one thing is like your kid's doing blow or shooting up junk by himself in your garage, but it's like, I can't imagine, as a parent sitting there and like having your kid be like, I just got another dog in the kennel. I picked this lady up and I shot her boyfriend. Like, oh, pass the pizza. Cool, right on, man.
But when you see how the mother talks about him, she basically says, well, these were bad dudes. Like they were mean to him, they were aggressive, and he handled it wrong, but they were bad dudes. So she's like kind of.
She's patting it.
Yeah, she's patting it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's also probably with her trying to deal with it.
That's the thing too. Is I'm sure she's just trying. I'm sure any parent of a kid who commits horrific crimes. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine the guilt that you would feel. I mean, you probably already know you were a failure as a parent, but then when it goes to this level, you're just, I'm sure you feel responsible in some way. I know I would. If my kids ended up committing lots of crimes and hurting people, I would every day I'd sit there and go, what did I do wrong? It'd be hard not to blame myself. Sure. Feel some level of responsibility for that.
So, yeah, that's basically where that is now. We can go on to the next topic that's also fun-loving.
Let's hear it.
Did you ever see the movie The Ones Below?
The Ones Below.
It was last year.
No.
It wasn't like a major blockbuster success.
Yeah.
But, it definitely had some really interesting people in it. It had one of the guys from Boardwalk Empire in it and stuff like that.
Doug, I got a 10 and 11-year-old kid at home, so if it's not a Marvel movie, I haven't seen it.
Right.
I can't remember last time I just went and saw a movie that I wanted to see. It just doesn't happen.
Animation.
It's not a cartoon or a Marvel movie. I have no idea it exists.
When I was back home for Thanksgiving, my sister was like talking about all these movies she wanted me to see, but my nephew was there, and she's like, "We can't watch those now, but you should watch this movie."
Yeah.
In other words, there's no way you're going to be able to watch this while you're home.
Yeah,
because they're going to always be around.
Yep, exactly.
So, but the premise of this movie was a couple move into an apartment, another couple moves below them, and the couple in the upstairs apartment gets pregnant, and they're about to have a baby. They're very excited about it. And the people in the apartment below them somehow get pregnant at the same time. Mm-hmm. And obviously the people in the bottom apartment were not pregnant. They were stalking this other couple, and they steal the baby.
Yeah.
So this happened in real life.
Yeah. You hear about that every once in a while. I mean, this is something that happens. I mean, when you have kids and you're in the hospital, they put all these like bands.
Yeah.
And all this, like, it's a whole security thing.
Yeah, it has to be.
It has to be. Yeah. But I mean, because people will come in that want a baby and be like, this is my baby. This is my baby.
Right.
A lot of times, from what I understand too, if a lot of women lose a baby, they have like, a traumatic experience or something like that. They just, it's one of the reasons why they do it.
Right. And so even as like an uncle visiting my nephews in the hospital, like I had to get a band just to look in the window.
Totally. It's like, who are you?
Yeah, they're like, you can't be here unless you're somehow related to the family.
But that's a nightmare. Obviously, anytime your kid gets kidnapped. I mean, let me ask you a question, Doug, and we're going into a dark place here. We're talking about a child.
I think that's perfect for this podcast.
Okay, but this is the scenario, and I want you to answer honestly. Which one's better? Like, is it better to get your kid kidnapped when they're really little, like maybe like newborn to like 3 months, or when they're like 10, 11, 12, 13? You know what I mean? Because when they're newborn, you don't really know them. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you don't, it's kind of.
So you might not like them later.
No.
And like,
just saying, like, if, which one do you think's worse on that horrific scale?
I think it's all horrible.
It's all the same?
Yeah, because, the studies show that almost no couple survives the loss of a child.
Yeah.
Kidnapping, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's good in any part of that spectrum at all.
Yeah.
Like if they're off at college and you lose them, it's even worse. So do
you think that's what I'm saying? Do you think it's worse? Because like this is the thing is that if a kid gets kidnapped, like these people, right? Your kid gets snatched when they're like 4 days old, right? I mean, at least they're going to like another family that wants to raise a baby, right? But when your kid disappears when they're 23 after you raised them, paid for their damn college, invested all this time and love, and all of a sudden they disappear because they took some drugs, and next thing you know they're out in the jungle locked up in a hut or something. It's just like
and then you hear about the really weird scenario where the child was locked up for like 14 years, and then they find them later, and then the family's reunited with them.
Yeah.
How is that?
Yeah. What's that conversation like?
That's got to be a fly on that wall.
Yeah. How's your 16th birthday? Oh, you're in that cage.
Right.
Yeah, it's just man, it's horrible. Horrible to think about. So it's all the same. I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I was saying if you had to pick one.
I wouldn't. You
can't do it.
No, I don't think you could pick any. Yeah. It's like it would be like me putting you in front of your children and saying, which one do you like better?
Yeah, they're both awesome.
No, you would say that, obviously. No.
Yeah, exactly. No. I mean, they're just kids are it's they're such a blessing, man. A lot of work, but they're such a blessing.
That's why I say have 3. That way you have a spare.
Yeah, exactly. It's like odd man out.
Like intervention, that one that like gets hooked to heroin or whatever. You're like, oh, that was a spare.
Yeah, sorry, bud.
Sorry, dude.
Totally.
I'll stay with the other two. So this woman faked a pregnancy along with her friend. As soon as her friend got pregnant, she said that she had gotten pregnant with her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And then when the baby came home after 6 days, she went and overkilled this woman, just shot her to death.
And my God, I didn't know she killed the lady.
Yeah, she killed
I thought
her.
she just kidnapped the baby.
No, she shot her up in the home. And
Dude, this is such a worse story than I thought it was.
Oh, sorry.
Jeez.
Did you thought this podcast was called Happy Unicorns?
No, I just thought that maybe like the lady that faked the pregnancy took the baby and then they found out, okay, give the baby back. I didn't know she went and murdered the family.
Yeah, I don't know why. Why not just sneak in and why go that far? I don't.
Well, and I mean, there's so many different levels of this story now, right? Because think about the boyfriend that went along with this. So, like if you're a boyfriend and you're going along with a woman who's pretending that she's pregnant,
right?
I mean, listen, we all know that there are different types of people in a relationship. We've all dated women that might be a little wacky,
right?
That's like nth level.
Yeah.
For you to go along with that, like, is it because she's paying your rent? Is she that good in bed? Like, under what circumstances? When your girlfriend's like, listen, I'm going to fake my pregnancy, go along with this. Or did
he might not have even known.
He thought it was really happening.
Well, and the other thing.
She was that good? Like, what? I mean.
Maybe. Well, so here's the thing is they've.
Listen,
all of his, like, he's not implicated at all.
So she even fooled him.
I think so.
This is why, dudes, if you're dating a chick, especially if she becomes pregnant, you have to make sure that you see her naked at least once every 3 hours. So she's not tying any kind of pillows down there or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you have to. The thing is, the problem with a lot of relationships, I think, is that from what I know, and the friends that I've talked to.
Is that what you did with Christy? Baby, get naked.
Yes.
I need proof.
But that's the problem is, like, women think like, oh, he just wants me to take my clothes off because he's horny and it's a sexual thing. It's not. It's also just making sure that you're not faking a pregnancy.
Is that what it is?
So it's just like, listen, take off your clothes real quick because I want to make sure you're not faking this pregnancy.
Right.
If your lady's pregnant.
Okay.
It's important to see your partner naked as much as possible so this type of thing doesn't happen is what I'm saying, Doug.
So she was in Wichita, Kansas. Her boyfriend, I think, was in Dallas at the time. And so,
one of these things.
Yeah. So she might have said, I'm going to stay with friends while I get through the pregnancy, and then I'm going to come back.
So he might be a soldier or something. He might be like on deployment or something.
Who knows? They haven't really gone into exactly what he did. But anyway, so she then killed her, grabbed the baby, ran to Dallas, and then joined her family. And her family's like, oh, yay, baby.
Yeah.
And she faked all these pregnancy Facebook photos to show that she was like pregnant with child.
Doesn't it? Listen, if there's any women that listen to this that have kids, I mean, is that possible to fake that stuff? I mean, it seems like women would know, especially on Facebook. They'd be like, wait a minute. That's not a real breast pump or, whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
I think it's pretty.
Think it's easy? I don't know,
probably.
Man. Pregnancy is a real complicated thing. It doesn't,
right.
Like, I mean, when you
not
see
on Facebook, it isn't.
When you see a pregnant woman walking down the street, it's like that. It's like that lady's pregnant.
Right.
It seems like it would be hard to, but then you hear these crazy stories, Doug, right, about women who will like go to the doctor and be like, oh, I'm having pain in my stomach. And then all of a sudden the doctor's like, yeah, you're about to have a baby. And they deliver the kid. And they're like, oh, my God, I didn't even know I was pregnant.
So that
like, this is the weirdest thing is because how do you not know you have a baby growing in you? But that happens quite a bit. You hear stories about that. Not this horrific where they kill people and stuff, but like just a woman goes into a doctor and all of a sudden she's like, oh, yeah, I have a baby. Wow. I didn't even know I was pregnant. It's like, how does that happen?
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that the sheriff actually came out and said. Is he said, here are a couple of, they didn't know who did it, first off.
Yeah.
And so they said, if you've seen anyone who has just somehow said they didn't know they were pregnant, saw a doctor, found out they were pregnant, and had a baby, like all in the span of like a week or 2 weeks or something of that nature, please let us know. Mm-hmm. Or if somebody said they had a relative or family member visit them and then they came back with a baby, also let us know.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. Anyway, so after that, she went she went to Dallas. Her family was really excited because she had this newborn, and then they raided her house. They brought a whole SWAT team in. They got the baby unharmed. It was crazy. I mean, literally, can you imagine that? Like, you're all excited because your significant other brings home what you think is your baby.
Yeah.
And then the SWAT team, a couple hours later, raids your house and takes the baby and lets you know that your significant other is a complete nut job and has murdered someone and stolen their baby.
Wow, man.
That would be...
Whew. I mean, people don't know about adoption. Like, what?
I know.
It's just...
There are options.
Or maybe this was like a girl that was so jealous of this neighbor, like envied this neighbor, like so envious of her. And so she wanted to be her. She wanted like her life. She all of a sudden like fantasy and reality just blurred. She's like, that's it. I'm going to become her. I'm going to take her baby.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people get really jealous about stuff like that. Like, oh, she's got the perfect life. Like, if I have her baby, then my life will be perfect.
Did you see Girl on a Train?
No.
Very similar story there, too.
Should I write
Hollywood scripts? So you need to see the ones below and Girl on a Train.
Writing these down.
Yeah, double header of
Movie
just
night, baby.
Disturbing movies. By the end of it, you'll just be like, oh, I'm so creeped out.
Yeah.
And then you'll just hug Christy and be like, you're wonderful.
Yeah. She's like, thanks. Thanks for not being a nut job.
And then so during the time of this one story, there probably been at least 6 kids abducted. Every 40 seconds, a baby is abducted.
Every 40 seconds, a baby is abducted?
Isn't that terrifying?
Well,
in the U.S. That's only the U.S.
What I like to think of as far as like when kids get taken, and maybe this is just me just trying to,
make it better.
Yeah, make it better. Is I like to think that like 99% of those, it's like a bad divorce. And it's the dad going like, that's it. We're moving to Reno. Your mom's a junkie. We're getting out of here.
Right.
So like the kid's technically kidnapped, but really it's like a good parent trying to get the kid away from like a horrible parent. That's how I like to frame those things in my mind, which I think some of that has got to be the case, right?
Right.
Some of it. But that's unbelievable. Every 40 seconds, a kid gets stolen.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I find that hard to believe.
So let's go on to another lovely baby story.
Okay.
So another little baby story is, so in Minneapolis, there's a child daycare. This guy was bringing his 3-year-old to drop off at the daycare. The daycare owner ran up to the guy and said, I can't take this anymore. I've had enough. And starts walking out. And as he's walking in, he hears a baby crying.
Okay.
He runs to where the baby's crying, and the baby's it's like an infant in a noose hanging from the ceiling.
Oh, my God.
He's able to pull the baby down from the noose. The woman leaves the daycare, runs out, gets in her minivan, immediately runs over like a pedestrian.
Okay.
And then keeps fleeing down the road. Hits a bicyclist.
This is the daycare person that said I
the
can't take this
owner of the
anymore?
daycare.
Okay, I thought it was the person chasing the daycare person.
No.
Because I could see myself like going, I'm going to go find that person and run over.
He immediately calls 911. It's like,
Yeah.
this baby's like lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And then she runs to a bridge and tries to jump off the bridge. But some pedestrians see her, grab her, hold her down. The police come, get her, arrest her. And, horrifying story.
Thank God the baby's all right.
Yeah, the baby is fine. Every other baby in the daycare was fine.
Yeah.
Or all the other children in the daycare.
I bet that kid that was hanging was colicky. You know what a colicky baby is?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my kids was colicky. It's pretty grating, but not like hang the baby grating. I don't think anything is hang the baby grating.
I still have the utmost respect for parents having to deal with children that are just out of control or just very like grating because they need your attention or whatever. Because 1 or 2 times without sleep is probably challenging.
Sure.
But, in the 8th month of not sleeping, you start to get a little like, oh my God, if this baby screams
again. These weren't her
again.
kids. This is someone who chose to be a child daycare person as a profession.
Yeah.
And I mean, and listen,
and was a registered, completely legitimate daycare.
Yeah. I mean, they go through a lot of training and stuff. And I think when things like this happen, though, I think this is not to get on my soapbox, but here I go. I think that, when people have breakdowns like this, I don't think it's like a thing that happens like that morning. I think things build up and people don't, like something snaps and people don't know how to handle it. But I don't think like it goes from like 0 to 100 in one morning.
No.
And I think this is the thing that bothers me about stories like this is that this lady, at least you would hope that you would have people in her life, whether it's coworkers, whether it's a husband, whether it's some friends, that would recognize like, hey, man, this person needs a break. Like this person is on edge. This person isn't acting normal. This person needs some help. And I think so, like, it just seems like in life, everyone's just about, getting through the day and getting on to the next day. And I don't think we spend enough time, like, kind of, looking at each other and looking at the people that are close to us and saying, hey, dude, are you okay? Like, you seem pretty stressed out. Or, maybe if I'm this person's boss, like, hey, man, you seem like you're really on edge. Like, why don't you take a day off?
Yeah.
Is everything okay? Because you don't go from like, hey, man, I love my job, 3 hours later going, I can't take this anymore. I'm gonna try to kill a kid. Like, that's something that's built gradually over time. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't know. Do you agree? I mean, I'm sure there are situations where people just snap, but I tend to think that there had to have been some signs that this lady was having some psychological trouble.
Yeah, nothing's come out yet. But luckily, everybody who was injured in her escape and the baby, they're all going to recover and they're all going to be fine. But she's caught. But I mean, obviously
she's caught, but something's going to happen to her, right?
Yeah.
What's she going to do? Like serve a year in jail? She didn't kill anyone.
She didn't kill anyone.
You know what I mean? So what? She's going to go 2 years, and then what is she going to do? She's going to be out? Like, what happens to people like this? That's my question.
Well, we'll find out.
And how do you overcome something like that? Like you're applying for a job at McDonald's. So tell me about your last job. Why were you let go?
Exactly.
Like this lady's life is over, right? I mean,
well, that's what you'd think. But again, Todd Kohlhepp, you would think his life was over, and yet somehow he started a real estate company and then murders 7 people. So
she's got to like reinvent herself big time.
Yeah, she's going to have to reinvent. But she didn't have like any. She's right now facing 2nd-degree murder, 3rd-degree assault, and 2 charges of criminal vehicular operation in connection with an incident. So she's not going to get out anytime soon.
Yeah,
but
my point is, she's probably what, 30?
I have no idea. Let's find out.
Yeah, like my point is, she has a lot of life still to live.
She was 40. She's 42.
She's 42.
Yeah.
So she might not have that long to live. Let's face it, Doug. We're in our 40s.
Yeah, shit's like pretty much. We're done anyway.
Hips start hurting. It's like
Yeah, but it's really interesting that you bring up someone like getting kind of pushed to the brink. I don't know if do you know Sebastian? He used to throw a bunch of huge parties. He's been throwing parties in San Francisco for, God, I don't know, like almost 20 years, maybe even longer. And Aaron Axelson.
Yeah.
Aaron Axelson's pop scene is the 2nd longest running club in San Francisco. And this guy's Indulgence Party was the longest running.
I thought, was it not 19? What's the one at the Cat Club?
Oh, yeah.
What is it called? You know what I'm
1984.
1984. I thought that was the longest.
No, I think Indulgence might have been before that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did Sebastian do 1984?
No.
Okay. You ever go to 1984?
Of course I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent my time there. And the other thing about...
Is that still going on?
It is still going on.
That's awesome.
And
is it the same?
It's not the same.
Yeah.
I remember going there with a bunch of my skateboarding friends, and we like all roll in there, and the Hells Angels had like a table in the back. Yeah. And they were hanging out there.
I remember going there like I'm talking like in 94, 93.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm always amazed when things are still going on.
Yeah.
That are still going on like that. It's like, really? That's still happening?
So what you're saying is that we're going to go to the Cat Club
Let's go.
On Thursday for 84.
Go. Exactly, man. Let's go.
I ran into some friends, and they're like, yeah, we're going to go to the 80s night at the Cat Club. And I'm like, first of all, that's still going. And the Cat Club's still open. But yeah, it's
awesome.
Still. Anyway, so unfortunately, Sebastian, he hit his limit. His mom passed away, and he lost his sister. There were like all these. He had like a series of things happen, and then he was battling depression.
Yeah.
And then about a week and a half ago, he committed suicide, and it was heartbreaking because he has all these friends in San Francisco, but
no one to talk to.
he felt alone, and it's just one of those things where when you say, why didn't someone reach out or notice? And his girlfriend or longtime girlfriend had said, don't beat yourself up over this just because it's one of those things that you just can't blame yourself for not noticing because you're going about your own life.
Yeah.
And it just takes, but it does take someone to stop and say, hey, man, are you okay?
Yeah.
And it's not something that feels comfortable to do.
Of course not. Yeah, no. I mean, and the fact of the matter is, and this is life is just brutal.
It is.
It's tough, man. It's tough, and it can be really hard sometimes. And sometimes it takes its toll on people, and they make really, really bad decisions.
Yeah, and it's just the other thing is maybe a week or two later, he'd be back on top and feeling very comfortable again. But
they always say like suicide is a period where life intended there to be a comma or something like that.
Right, exactly.
I always love that.
I've never heard that, but that's
you never heard that really?
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's like dude, like, or maybe it's a semicolon, not a comma. I can't remember. Whatever the correct grammar
pregnant
is.
Pause.
I don't know what it is, but it's like the period is not needed. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to end your story. And I remember coming into work one day, and there was a kid. I was on where was I? I was coming from the East Bay, and I was on 580 heading towards San Francisco, and there was one of those overpasses, and there was a kid up there. He might have been like 14, and he was like going to jump into traffic. So they'd stopped all the cars.
Right.
So, everyone's just in their car. Just, it's just stopped. Everyone's sitting there, and this kid's up there, and the cops are up there and stuff. And I was maybe like, 20 feet, so I could see the kid,
Right.
And they were kind of pulled him over, and the cops got him and handcuffed him and took him away. And I was just like, man, like, thank God, thank God that dude was saved because he's a kid, and it's like, he'll every time he goes by that bridge, he'll be like, that's where I almost made the worst decision of my life. You know what I mean? And instead of his friends going there and go, this is where he ended his life, he can go there now and be like, hey, man, it was a pretty bad day,
right?
But he has the ability to do that.
Yeah, and he had this. Now he gets a little bit of time to think about it, and reflect on. Wow, that was a bad decision, and obviously cry for help as well.
Exactly,
and hopefully he got it. But I don't know if you've watched The Bridge.
Oh yeah. I saw it at the Bridge Theater.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I saw it when it came out. I interviewed the guys who made it.
No way.
Yeah.
So that was such an intense movie. But that one guy who survived, he said the moment he let go of the bridge, he. And this movie's about the Golden Gate Bridge, which is the #1 suicide destination in the world.
Which, when I was at the Grand Canyon, I was like, dude, the Grand Canyon should be the #1.
Because it's so pretty?
It's just, I don't know. I'm not trying
to... far fall?
It's there's no way you're surviving, dude. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet down.
Right.
You're not.
But it's so pretty. By the time you get there, you're like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, life is pretty good. Yeah.
All right, maybe I should go back.
But The Bridge, I honestly think that's one of my top 10 favorite movies. And I don't mean because of its content, but it was just, I thought it was so well done, and it's so emotionally jarring.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, very insightful as far as how powerful depression can be. And, I think everyone, knows people who have committed suicide, and you're always trying to wonder, like, how is this, how did that happen to my friend, right?
Right.
And when you see this movie, it gives this insight because it talks to the families. I just thought it was really, really well done, even though it was, at the time, people were pissed. And, it was boycotted, and, people don't want people to see that movie.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's America. Nobody wants anyone to see these, dark, no one wants to talk about the dark things that will, and that's why we're doing this. But, I think that the dark things, once you hear about them, you understand them a little bit better, and you understand how it affects everyone.
Yeah.
And so when one of the guys who survived, he was like, his family rallied around him. They had been supporting him the entire time, but they didn't realize how urgent it was for him to continue his care and to continue taking his meds. They're like, oh, he's off his meds.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
We'll get back on it. Yeah, no,
but
exactly.
when he was off his meds, he went to the bridge and he jumped off. And he said the moment he let go, he wished he hadn't.
Yeah.
And somehow he survived. And he actually said a porpoise or
I remember that. Yeah.
A dolphin
saved his life.
Somehow was holding him up.
Yeah. I think that really happened, though.
Yeah. Well, they said that his arms and legs were broken, so he couldn't be swimming.
Some animal in the bay kept the kid afloat.
Yeah, kept him afloat somehow.
It's unbelievable.
So,
it's an amazing movie. I mean,
it's
I don't
amazing.
even know. I don't know where people can find it or whatever. I have a VHS copy of that movie.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah,
because we're old.
Because we're ancient.
Yeah.
But powerful stuff. And like I said, I mean, even though it's about suicide and, I just found it so enlightening as far as, like we were talking about depression, like you're saying, like people who are on medication. It's like, dude, if you know someone in your life that's on medication, like be a good friend. Make sure they're taking their medication.
Yeah.
Because it's for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, and have the discussion. Like, hey, bro, listen, man, I know you're taking meds. Like, every once in a while I'm just going to say, man, you taking your meds? Just because I care about you.
Well, and the other thing, too, is it just showed you, as you said, it showed the full breadth of everything that happened. So you got to see the families who lost, the families who had survivors from it, and the talks that they had and how happy they were that their child survived, and the ones that were just absolutely devastated that their child didn't survive. And you just get this, it's a very well-rounded view.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But like I said, people were like, I mean, it was, people were very upset with that movie. I thought the directors were great. I was like, this should win an Academy Award. I mean, it's beyond reality. Because it's just, there it is.
Right.
They literally filmed people jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge.
It was rough. So on a lighter subject, Justin Bieber.
Justin Biebs, what's the Biebs up to, man?
So Bieber was, I think, completely in the right in this point. Bieber punched one of his fans in Barcelona.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did the fan do?
So he's pulling into a venue, and this fan reaches into the car to touch Justin Bieber, but then grabs onto him. And Bieber's like, you can see him. Of course, TMZ has the whole video.
Of course.
And the kid is like running along with the car, holding on to Bieber, and Bieber just turns around and punches the kid in the face.
What is the kid that's reaching in the car, grabbing Justin Bieber? What does he expect to happen? Like he's gonna,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, okay, like I can see like waving or like, hey man, can I shake your hand or high five or fist bump or peace sign? But when you grab a dude in the car's moving. Basically you're asking you to get run over,
right?
In my opinion. And what's going to happen? You expect Justin Bieber's going to get out of the car and like dance with you?
Yeah.
Give you a hug? Like
maybe a private concert? Like, no.
But how old was this kid? Was he like a 10-year-old kid? I mean,
he was. So the kid was. God, it doesn't say how old.
Doesn't say. But then again, it's also kind of cool that Justin Bieber, if you're a huge fan, punches you in the face, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I got beat up by Henry Rollins. How awesome!
Yeah, I mean the kid got like a little bit of a bloody lip. Nothing bad, but he was just like, dude, let go. Like, I mean,
let go of me.
Yeah. I mean, I know your fans get crazy about you.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, they grab. I have been to some of your events where your fans have been pretty maniacal. Like, that night at the Hard Rock, there was some girl, you were doing some show at the Hard Rock, and this girl was, like, all in your face and, like, kept wanting to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you were just like, I got to go to the stage. And she kept, like, getting in front of you and talking to you.
What was she talking to you about?
It's
been really important.
We were all pretty tipsy at that point. But I just remember I was like, wow, dude, that is intense.
Yeah, people. I mean, sometimes people have things to say to you. It's I don't know. I mean, I don't mind talking to people. They can sit there and berate me. But yeah, if I have to be on stage doing something, it's like I got to go to like I'm working right now.
Remember that you coned a guy.
I do remember that. Yeah.
That was, you felt a little bad about that, but I thought that was like the funniest way to like this guy. We were out one night and Mike did all these meetups for like Live 105 when he was back on Live 105, and he was doing this meetup, and all these people would come to drink at like a very small little bar, and this one guy was just maniacal and just kept following you everywhere, and you just had enough.
Yeah.
And you told me I had two options. I was either going to hit the guy or do something else. And you came across a cone and you just set the cone on the guy's head.
Yeah.
And it made him move back, but I think he was still totally cool with it.
I care. I just remember like kind of telling him like, hey, dude, you got to leave me alone. Like,
right.
you got to give me some space, man. And he kept, it's kind of exactly what you said. But I remember I took the cone and I just kind of like stuck it on his head, and I kind of just pushed him down with the cone.
Right.
So he's kind of like, he just ended up kind of on the ground, like with this cone pushed over his head, and I just kind of like walked away. He's kind of like, ugh. And I don't know if he got the cone off. I don't know, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, he just kept walking.
Construction cones.
I think at that point, I was taking a picture of the Transamerica. Like, oh, that's really pretty. And then I turn around, there's this guy on the ground with a cone on his head.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but it's better than being Justin Bieber and punching him in the face, right? I mean,
well, he just didn't have a cone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it comes down to. So, I think what we've learned out of this is if you have a baby, stay away from crazy people.
Man.
And if you have a trailer in the woods, maybe put lawnmowers in it or something like that. Maybe not tie people up. And if you do tie people up, don't write reviews on Amazon.
No, it's not
not
right.
a good look.
It's not right.
And I think that's pretty much
episode 15.
Episode 15 in a nutshell. Don't be always, if you're running a daycare and it gets stressful,
go for a walk.
Go for a walk.
Smoke a joint.
Right.
Relax.
Something like that.
Chill out, man.
Get an assistant.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. Please follow us on Twitter. We're We Vomit Rainbows on all social media, and review and rate us. Help us get fans. Tell your friends if you like it. If you don't like it, tell your friends anyway. Maybe they'll listen. I don't know.